Hi, and welcome back to today's video, which is about how to become certified carbon neutral under Climate Active and the associated costs. So Barbara, how do I become certified under Climate Active?
To become certified carbon neutral under the Climate Active standard, there are basically 4 steps. First, you need to determine your carbon footprint boundary. And secondly, you need to calculate your carbon footprint. We've talked about both these steps in our earlier blog posts and videos. Thirdly, you need to get your carbon footprint verified. And then lastly, you will purchase carbon offsets and submit all documentation to the Commonwealth Government.
Okay, so how much does it typically cost to become certified under Climate Active?
It depends on a number of factors, but there are 4 basic costs associated with getting certified under Climate Active.
So can you tell me a bit more about those? What costs are they?
Sure. Firstly, you should engage a registered consultant such as 100% Renewables to help you with the carbon inventory boundary and the carbon footprint calculation. And the cost of this really depends on the size and complexity of your organization and also on the types of emission sources that you want to include. We would give you a fixed fee quote based on our discussions with you, and you would leave the rest to us. The second cost will be for engaging a third-party verifier or validation provider. They need to verify the work done by the registered consultant, and the cost of this would similarly depend on your size and complexity.
And could an organisation do any of that work themselves?
You can. You can develop your own carbon footprint in accordance with the Climate Active rules if you have the in-house resources, but you might find that the verifier's fees are then slightly higher, as they may have to do more detailed checking than they would otherwise have to do.
And what about the cost of carbon offsets themselves?
That's a good question. This can be as little as, say, $1.50 per tonne for a large volume that you purchase from overseas. But if you purchase smaller quantities or from Australian carbon offset projects, it can be as high as $25 per tonne. It's usually helpful to run a workshop with your key stakeholders to work out your preferences and what is feasible given your emissions and also your budget.
And are there any other costs associated with becoming certified?
Yes. The last fee component of your costs is the Climate Active membership or license fees, which are paid annually. If your footprint is less than 2,000 tonnes of carbon emissions, you'll pay an annual fee of $2,330, and if your footprint is more than 80,000 tonnes of carbon emissions, the fee rises to more than 16,000, and this fee also increases by 2.5% every year.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier they need to engage both a registered consultant and a verifier or a validation provider. What's the difference between those two?
Yeah, so a registered consultant can be engaged to develop your carbon inventory boundary and your footprint, and also your emissions reduction strategy. They would liaise with you, the verifier, and the Commonwealth. It's not mandatory, as I indicated. You could do this step yourself, but it is highly recommended that you do engage a registered consultant, as they have the skilled resources and have done the training and are also experienced in this kind of work. Now, a verifier is an independent third party who must be engaged to validate the carbon boundary and footprint. Your registered consultant cannot be the same person or business as the verifier, because there would be a conflict of interest.
And look, last question, do I have to pay all of these costs every year?
No, you don't. You'll have to pay yearly Climate Active membership fees and carbon offset costs to continue to be a carbon neutral company. And you do need to calculate your carbon footprint annually as well, but this would be much less than the first time, because you should make sure that all data collection and calculation processes are all documented so that you can do the work in-house or largely in-house. You'll only need to pay the validation provider once every 3 years.
Okay, well look, that's been really helpful, Barbara. Thank you very much for your insights today.
Well, thanks for having me. Thank you.